This is why you should be extremely careful about who you loan money to. It doesn't matter if the person is a friend, a family member, or someone you've worked with for years. Trust can be valuable, but when misplaced, it can cost you everything. This young man just lost his life, all because of the trust and high hopes he had in his friend. As what started as a loan between two friends who doubled as business partners turned into a deadly betrayal that no one would have ever seen coming. It all started in 2023 when 24-year-old Yunus Issa approached 28-year-old Lawan Adamu with what seemed like a promising business proposal. Lawan and Yunus were more than just business partners. They were also friends. They worked together selling engine oil and other lubricants in Damaturu, the capital city of Yobe State, Nigeria. Like many young men in Damaturu, the two had dreams of growing their businesses, making money, and building better futures. Yunus and Lawan shared a bond built on trust, which is why when Yunus asked Lawan for a loan of 500,000 naira to open a new business outlet, Lawan didn't hesitate. For Lawan, it seemed natural to help Yunus when he came asking for the loan. The money was supposed to be an investment, a way for Yunus to start his own engine oil outlet with a profit-sharing agreement that would benefit them both. But what Lawan didn't know was that he had just signed his own death warrant that very day. Yunus had no intention of fulfilling that agreement. Instead, he diverted the money into something else entirely, something far more personal and selfish. Yunus used the 500,000 naira loan to marry a wife. At first, Lawan didn't suspect anything was wrong. He expected Yunus to start seeing profits soon, just as they had agreed. But weeks passed, then months, and Yunus had nothing to show for the loan. No new business, no profits, just a growing silence that left Lawan feeling uneasy. Lawan began to ask questions, but Yunus always had an excuse. First, it was delays in setting up the business. Then, it was that the market wasn't doing well. Yunus kept asking for more time. Lawan was patient, as any friend would be, but eventually, even patience has its limits. When Lawan finally ran out of patience, he gave up on the business entirely and then demanded his money back. Now, here is where things started to go really wrong. What started as a business loan turned into a ticking time bomb, with Yunus desperately trying to avoid the consequences of his deceit. Lawan's persistent demands for repayment only fueled Yunus' determination to find a way out, a way that did not involve paying back the money. Yunus knew he was running out of time. As the pressure mounted, his thoughts took a very dark turn. Instead of confronting the situation, he began to plot an escape, one that would ensure he would never have to pay back Lawan ever again. On September 15, 2024, Yunus set his deadly plan into motion. He lured Lawan to a remote area of Shagotara, far from the bustling streets of Damaturu. Lawan thought it was just another meeting, maybe to discuss the repayment he had been asking for over and over again. But Yunus had something far darker in mind. Armed with a knife, Yunus waited for the right moment. Lawan had no idea that his trusted friend, the very person he had loaned money to in good faith, was about to turn on him. As they spoke, Yunus struck. He stabbed Lawan multiple times in a frenzied attack, leaving him lifeless in the secluded spot. After committing the heinous act, Yunus fled the scene. He might have believed that with Lawan gone, his financial burden had been lifted, and that no one would come asking for the money again. But he was wrong. When Lawan didn't return home that day, his family and friends became worried. Lawan's body was discovered the next day, and the police were called to the scene. The detectives found the murder weapon, and preliminary investigation pointed to Yunus as the prime suspect. He was promptly arrested by the Yobe State Police and taken in for questioning. At first, Yunus denied everything, claiming he had no involvement in his friend's death. But the evidence against him was overwhelming. As detectives dug deeper, his lies began to unravel. Faced with mounting pressure, he eventually confessed to the crime. Yunus told the police that he had taken his friend's life so that he wouldn't have to pay back the 500,000 naira loan he had taken from him. This event is occurring just 4 months after an almost similar incident took place in Kano State. 35-year-old Sadiq Zubairu, who was a former colleague and long-standing friend of Bello Adams at the Kano Electricity Distribution Company, had promised to secure him a lucrative job at the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS). To be able to pull this off, Sadiq requested the sum of 3 million naira. Bello, who was eager for the opportunity, handed over the staggering sum of 3 million naira to him. The money was meant to ensure his job placement at the FIRS. But weeks turned into months, and the promise of a job was nowhere to be seen. Sadiq had no position to offer, and more importantly, he had no intention of returning the money. As time passed, the pressure on Sadiq mounted. Bello, who had been patiently waiting, began to question Sadiq about the delay. With his patience running thin and his demands increasing, Bello was desperate to either secure the job or get his money back. Sadiq, realizing he could not fulfill either promise, began to hatch a deadly plan to end the situation once and for all. On May 15, 2024, Bello left his home with his Toyota Corolla, not knowing that he would never return home again that day. He had been lured by Sadiq to his house, possibly thinking it was another meeting to discuss the job or the return of his money. Little did he know that his trusted friend Sadiq had put a tragic plan in place, a plan that would ensure he would never have to pay back the 3 million naira debt ever again. Unknown to Bello, his friend Sadiq had paid 2 hefty thugs to wait for him inside the house. When Bello arrived, he was tied up and beaten with sticks and sharp metal objects. They struck him repeatedly until he tragically passed away that day. After committing this heinous act, the 3 then loaded Bello into the trunk of his car and dumped him by the roadside near Betrayal village in Kano State. They then fled the scene, hoping to cover their tracks. Later that day, Bello's family reported him missing. The police immediately launched an investigation, and by evening, they received a tip-off about a body abandoned on the outskirts of the village. When law enforcement arrived, they found a grisly scene and quickly identified the deceased as Bello. His body was taken to Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital, where doctors confirmed him dead. With this discovery in place, the police wasted no time in tracking down Sadiq. He was arrested early the next morning on May 6, 2024. During questioning, he confessed to the crime and revealed the disturbing details of how he murdered his friend to avoid paying back the 3 million naira he owed him. These stories show that you can't really trust anyone. It also emphasizes the need to be very careful about who you loan money to, as well as anyone you get into a business arrangement with. What happened to Lawan and Bello was tragic, and they didn't deserve it. If you enjoyed this video, kindly give it a thumbs up, also share with friends, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories. Thank you for watching and stay safe.